In the California police force, people once spoke of her with a short nickname, Captain Harding. And just hearing that name, everyone knew they were referring to Julie Ann Harding, one of the few female officers who had commanded a major traffic area in the state. A woman who was both loved, made colleagues admire, and was once the pride of the Yuba City community. Julie was born in 1973, grew up in a middle-class family in Central California. She was not the type to give up easily. From high school, Julie played sports, was a female rugby player, and famous for her innate leadership spirit. When others stopped, she kept running. When teammates were tired, she shouted, "One more lap." After graduating college, Julie applied to the California Highway Patrol Academy, CHP. At that time, the number of women in the academy was less than 10%. Many said she was too petite, too emotional to endure the grueling training months. She only replied briefly, "If I don't try, then who will protect people like me?" In 1999, Julie graduated and officially donned the characteristic khaki uniform of the Highway Patrol Force. She worked in the North California area, one of the roads with high traffic volume and most dangerous. Julie's job was patrolling, handling accidents, assisting people, sometimes facing directly dangerous chases. But she was not just a law enforcer. Julie was famous for her compassion. Many people recounted that after each accident, she often stayed beside the injured, holding their hands until the ambulance arrived. She never left anyone behind on the road. Superiors quickly recognized that unusual ability. Julie had excellent situation handling skills, both soft and hard. After 15 years of service, she was promoted to captain, commander of the Yuba City area. That was a turning point, not only in her career, but also in her life. Those years, California media praised Julie as the model Iron Woman of the police force. She appeared in traffic safety propaganda programs, in photos with students, in community videos where she always smiled kindly, voice warm and sure. After work hours, Julie did not go home to rest. She went to the local field to coach a group of teenagers playing rugby, teaching them about discipline and courage. Many kids in Jubatown called her Coach Julie. To the kids, she was both a teacher and a hero. However, behind that shiny uniform was a private life much more complicated. Julie did not like talking about herself. The closest colleagues said she always put others before herself, something admirable, but also the reason she became increasingly lonely. Once, in an interview with a local station, Julie said a sentence that made many people tear up. "My job is to help others get home safely, but sometimes I myself don't know where I belong." That statement at the time was seen only as a simple sharing. But later, when everything happened, people saw it was a harbinger of a tragedy. Their marriage, in everyone's eyes, was a model of a stable and peaceful life. Julie, the woman with the gold badge. Michael, the veteran man, quiet and devoted. They lived in a house in Sacramento in a quiet residential area with green lawn, white fence, and the dog, Charlie, always running around the yard. The neighbor recounted, "Julie often came home very late, sometimes 2, 3 in the morning, but the next morning still saw her watering flowers, smiling at everyone. And Michael, whenever his wife went to work far, he always left the porch light on all night." Those small details seemed like habits, but actually signs of the growing distance. When Julie was promoted to commander in 2018, her work schedule became denser. Night shifts, sudden meetings, community events made time with Michael increasingly less. At first he understood and sympathized, but later Michael increasingly felt left behind. She no longer came home for dinner. Parties or gatherings of friends, she rarely attended. Michael said in a conversation with a close friend, "She loves the job more than she loves me, and perhaps I'm no longer the most important part in her life anymore." Julie never denied that. She loved the job, and that was true, but love for the police profession was not simple as passion. It was duty, identity, the reason for her to exist. In this field, people often say, "You don't just carry the badge, you live with it." Julie brought work home, brought others' worries into her sleep. And at some point, she forgot that someone needed her beside, not in the role of a commander, but as a wife. In 2020, California fell into crisis. Living costs rose high, heavy property taxes, congested traffic. Michael began talking about moving. He dreamed of a quieter life where there was a lake and starry sky. Tennessee. Julie listened, nodded, but did not promise. He began planning. Sell the store in Sacramento, pack things, and leave first. Julie stayed, said she would arrange work, then come later. But later never came. From then, they began a marriage long by a distance of 3,000 kilometers. Michael rented a small house by the lake in Salina, Clay County, Tennessee, then reopened an air conditioning repair shop. In this small town, he quickly became loved. People said, "He always helps for free if someone is in trouble." Michael often sat fishing every afternoon, drinking light beer and telling old stories. In his phone, he still saved Julie's name with a heart icon. But messages became fewer, and voices and calls became farther. Julie in California was still Captain Harding, always busy, always present, always calm. She often flew to Tennessee every few months to visit Michael, but those meetings were no longer like before. They smiled less, talked shorter. Each trip was like an effort to mend, but also a confirmation that they no longer understood each other. Early in 2021, an incident occurred. Julie was injured on duty. A dangerous chase on the highway caused her to fall, needing knee surgery. She lay in hospital many months. Michael flew back to California to care, but between them, something had broken. He saw her always looking at the phone, always in alert state, as if never turning off the commander role. And she, deep inside, began feeling guilty because it seemed Michael no longer understood her world anymore. After recovering, Julie returned to work immediately. She continued appearing in community events, receiving awards from state police for contributions to traffic safety. Michael stayed in Tennessee, pouring all effort into the new shop, living slower, and seemed happier. Summer 2022, they officially filed for divorce. Procedures were done in both states, but on paper still one thing not agreed: the lake house and the dog, Charlie. Charlie was once the little soul in their house, a golden dog, loyal, often lying under Julie's feet when she worked at the desk. When they separated, Michael took it with him, considering it a friend. Julie did not object, but sometimes, at night, she texted Michael just to ask, "Is Charlie okay?" Michael replied short, "Okay, it still runs around the yard." A story seemed small, but later, that very dog became the key opening part of the tragedy. While Michael adapted to life in Tennessee, he began meeting Rebecca, a kind woman living nearby. They met at a fishing session, then became close. Friends said, after many years, Michael could smile comfortably like that again. Julie heard the news. No one knew her true feelings then, But from that point, she began changing. She talked less. In the team, people saw her occasionally dazed, no longer excited as before. A colleague recounted, "She still worked hard, but eyes no longer bright as before, like someone trying to stay calm but inside already broken. Distance, betrayal, and silence. 3 things added together formed the most dangerous mixture in a marriage. Sometimes it doesn't kill love immediately, but erodes it day by day until nothing left to save." September 2022, Julie came to Tennessee. No one knew exactly the purpose of that trip. Some said she wanted to settle the divorce. Some said she wanted to try mending. And she herself, in the electronic diary the police found later, only wrote one line: "I don't want everything to end in silence." But fate does not wait for anyone. And those last days of September were the start of the chain of events leading to the tragedy that America would remember forever after. Autumn winds began blowing through Clay County, Tennessee. The calm lake, sun gradually low on the horizon, reflecting on the roof tiles of the house that Michael had just fixed. No one knew that just a few days later, this place would become the center of one of the most thrilling cases in American police history. A case starting from love and ending in darkness. On the morning of September 20th, 2022, Michael Harding left his house in Tennessee. In hand was a coffee cup. In mind was the list of things to do: pick up the tuxedo, visit customers, check a few air conditioners, then return early before sunset. He still thought life in Clay County was a new start, where he could begin again after months away from wife, away from past. He did not know that was the last day he got to see that sky. That afternoon, his phone turned off. No calls, no messages. The new girlfriend, Rebecca, texted many times, then called, then waited, but only endless ringing. By nightfall, Rebecca knew something was wrong. The next day, friends drove to Michael's house. Door closed, the car no longer in the garage. Only the dog, Charlie, lying curled under the steps, eyes sad as if it had understood something. Silence enveloped the house. A week later, strange smell from the empty house in Burkesville made a real estate agent stop. When they opened the door, cold air rushed out with familiar metallic stench. On the living room floor, under dim light, was a man's body. Michael Harding was found lying on his back, eyes half closed, shirt stuck with dried blood. He was shot multiple times in the chest and shoulder. No signs of struggle, not robbed wallet and watch still there. The house had no signs of break-in. Investigation report noted no broken glass pieces, no strange fingerprints on the door. Everything too clean, too quiet, as if someone had calculated every step. And the thing that made investigators chill most, Michael seemed to have come here voluntarily. The neighbor said had seen him there at noon that day, bending down to check the air conditioner on the porch. That made police believe someone had called him to repair. They checked call history and discovered a strange number using prepaid phone, called exactly the morning of the murder. When tracing back, they discovered the caller claimed to be representative of real estate company and needed him to come fix the air conditioning system. That was the trap. Michael had been lured to a place he would never return from. 3 days later, the phone call from Kentucky rang in California. Julie Harding, the female officer once respected and loved, went silent upon hearing her husband shot dead. Colleagues recounted she only silent, then said softly, "I understand." No crying, no asking, no flying to Kentucky. Julie continued going to work. She wore uniform, stood before her team as if nothing happened. People called that resilience. But to those who had seen her eyes that day, that was emptiness. When FBI started getting involved, they saw everything more complicated than imagined. The case spanned 3 states, California, Tennessee, and Kentucky, and initial data only like pieces of an endless puzzle. In one report, the agent wrote, "We cannot understand why a simple case like this, victim lured to an empty house, shot dead, could connect to a female police commander thousands of miles away." But then the name Thomas O'Donnell appeared. A 60-year-old man convicted for stalking and assaulting ex-girlfriend. And telecom data showed, just in the 2 months before Michael was killed, Thomas and Julie Harding called each other 194 times. Bank transactions also revealed that Julie had withdrawn hundreds of thousands of dollars before the case occurred. Reason unclear. Police did not rush to conclude. But when they put everything together, the story began clear. Julie Harding might not just be the widow wife. She might be the key link in a conspiracy. December 8th, 2022, Thomas was arrested at Sacramento Airport. Same day, Julie was also handcuffed, but charged not murder. She was accused of breaking in and retrieving the dog Charlie from Michael's new girlfriend's house. Security camera recorded Julie stepping to the door, calling the dog's name, and when it ran out, she pushed the door, picked it up, and left. The incident seemed small, but to investigators it said much. Julie would not let go. 3 days after being released on bail, morning of December 10th, 2022, the mailman discovered Julie lying dead in the garage of the house in Tennessee, gun still in hand. On the table was a piece of paper. "Michael, perhaps you are still the winner." Outside, the sky gray thick. Lake Selena reflected sad light. The woman who once represented justice now lay back in the house she once called peaceful place. No one knew if Julie ended her life out of remorse or fear. But her case, and Michael's, had officially entered the final chapter of tragedy. When Julie Harding's body was removed from the garage in that cold morning, the atmosphere in all 3 states, California, Tennessee, and Kentucky, sank into silence. A murder, a suicide, and a suspect arrested same day. Everything like just closed. But to investigators, that was only when the door of truth just cracked open. The biggest question raised, was Julie Harding victim or mastermind? And the man named Thomas O'Donnell, who was he? Why involved in Michael Harding's death? FBI started from cold data. Calls, location signals, bank transaction history. When they pieced the fragments, the name Thomas O'Donnell was no longer a vague shadow. Thomas, 60 years old, once lived in Napa, California. He had criminal record for stalking, assaulting women, and convicted in 2006 for following ex-girlfriend for many months. After release, he moved many places, sometimes in Texas, then Colorado, and finally temporarily settled in Sacramento, where Julie Harding worked. Special investigator Mark Ellison recounted in the file. She was a respected female cop, and he was a man who threatened women. The two should not intersect, but phone data says otherwise. From July to early September 2022, between Thomas and Julie, there were 194 calls, most at night. At the same time, bank statements showed Julie had withdrawn more than $220,000 cash from separate accounts, divided into many transactions, a common trace washing method. numbers do not lie. And they told that Julie was preparing for something. After collecting GPS data from the prepaid phone the killer used to lure Michael to the empty house, FBI noticed something strange. The signal of that phone had appeared in California, right near Julie Harding's house. By recovering location data, they discovered August 29th, 2022. Phone activated in Sacramento. September 17th, signal appeared in area near Julie's house. September 18th, that phone moved east through Colorado, Kansas, Arkansas, and arrived Kentucky on the 19th. At the same time, Thomas O'Donnell drove a 2020 Toyota Tundra across exactly that route. Traffic cameras, credit cards, and phone signals all confirmed. That meant Thomas left California just 2 days before Michael was killed. And throughout the journey, he still contacted Julie. Kentucky police discovered the house where Michael was lured to was for sale. The owner had installed electronic locking, just enter code to enter. This code given to real estate agents for convenience, leading clients to view house. When tracing call history, they discovered Thomas had called the brokerage company claiming to be representative of Keller Williams Realty, a real company, and requested door code to lead client view house. Thomas was not an agent, but he had the code. And that day he texted Michael, pretending to be house buyer needing air conditioning fix. Michael believed. He arrived on time carrying tools, stepped over the threshold, and never came out. In the police report, there was a short note. No signs of force. Victim opened the door himself. A cold detail, but it said everything. Michael's death was calculated like a perfect equation. If Thomas was the trigger puller, then Julie was the key holder. FBI proved that just a few days before the case, Julie's and Thomas's phones contacted densely. Average each call lasted a few dozen seconds, like coded signals. Signal map showed, on the evening of September 17th, Thomas's phone emitted from area near Julie's house. Coordinates: 5620 Woodland Avenue, Sacramento. Neighborhood camera recorded image of a tall man, silver hair, stepping out from her gate at 7 p.m. No one else but Thomas O'Donnell. When police searched Julie's office at California Police Headquarters, they found 2 cards. One birthday card, one Valentine card. Both signed Rob. And Rob was the nickname friends of Thomas still called him. December 8th, 2022, when Thomas was arrested at Sacramento Airport, Julie was also arrested same day for trespass and dog theft. The incident seemed small, but exactly that arrest timing made many believe Julie understood what was coming. She was bailed out within 24 hours. The next day she went to supermarket, bought a bottle of wine, then returned to the lake house in Salina, Tennessee, the house once Michael's, now only her and memories left. The morning after, mailman saw a garage door ajar. Julie lay on the concrete floor, beside was her gun. No signs of scuffle, no long note. Only a paper with the line, "Michael, perhaps you are still the winner." FBI concluded temporarily suicide. But not few believed someone had come before. Because just a few hours after Julie died, some data in her phone was deleted remotely. No one knew who did that. And no one could prove she was the last to touch the gun. In the short memorial at California Highway Patrol headquarters, Julie's closest colleague said, "She is not a killer in my eyes. She is someone pushed by life into a dead end." Julie Harding was once the symbol of modern female police. Strong, compassionate, respected, But in the last months of life, she got lost in a dark relationship where the boundary between love and control became indistinguishable. December 15th, 2022, Cumberland County Court indicted Thomas O'Donnell for first-degree murder. He did not plead guilty. Prosecutor requested death penalty. June 2023, after series of technical evidence, court determined Thomas was the one who directly shot Michael Harding in the empty house. But they couldn't prove Julie hired him because she was dead, and data that could charge her had disappeared with time. Thomas still silent, not admitting, not denying. He only said one single sentence when asked why he did it. Because someone asked me and because I believed. Julie's friends in California still believe she was innocent. And in Tennessee, Michael's neighbors believed justice had been served. Only the truth still lay somewhere between two opposing beliefs. Julie Harding, who once caught criminals, finally got swept into a criminal story of her own. A story with no hero, only humans, weak, mistaken, and sometimes not finding the way back. In the remaining files, the final note of the agent in charge was written in small, hard-to-read handwriting. All traces are cold, but still warmth in the way she left. And perhaps that is the ending, not for the crime, but for forgiveness. Between three states, between people who once loved and once betrayed, only one thing left: silence. The last thing that could lull them to sleep peacefully.